Good morning, everybody. Let's stand to our feet together and worship God. Come on. Let's sing this together. Your word is a lamp unto my feet. Your word is a lamp unto my feet. Your way is the only way for me. It's a narrow road that leads to life, but I want to be on it. It's a narrow road, but the mercy's wide, because you're good on your promise. Come on, sing it. I'll take you at your word. If you said it, I'll believe it. I've seen how good it works. If you started, you'll complete it. I'll take you at your word. Here we go. You spoke. You spoke. And the chaos fell in line. Oh, I know, 'cause I've seen it in my life. It's a narrow road that leads to life, but I want to be on it. Yeah. It's a narrow road and the tide is high. tide, but you parted the waters. I'll take you at your word. If you said it, I believe it. I've seen how good it works. If you started, you'll complete it. I'll take you at your word. If you said it, I believe it. I've seen how good it works. If you started, you'll complete it. I'll take you at your word. You're good on your promise. Yeah, I know. You're good on your promise. Come on. You said your love never give up. You said your grace is always enough. You said your heart would never forget or forsake me. You said I'm safe. You called me yours. You said my future's full of your heart. You never failed, so I know that you never fail me. You said your love would never give up. You said your grace is always enough. You said your heart never forget or forsake me. You said I'm safe. You called me yours. You said my future's full of your heart. You never fail, so I know that you never fail me. I take you at your word. And you said it, I believe it. I've seen how good it works. If you started, you'll complete. Come on, let me hear it. I take you at your word. If you said it, I believe it. I've seen how good it works. If you started, you'll complete it. I'll take you at your word. You're good on your promise. Yeah, I know. You're good on your promise. You're good on your promise. Come on, make some noise this morning. All right, you can have a seat. We're so glad you guys are here. Welcome to C3. I am Aaron, one of the pastors, and we are glad that you guys would join us today as we are continuing our Here's Your Red Flag series. And we are going to be talking a little bit about jealousy this morning. And we're going to see if any of us have a little red flag. Maybe we need to identify ourselves today. We're excited for that as we're going to be hearing from one of our pastors, Trent. A lot of things are happening. I know that weather isn't great outside, but who is ready to get rid of that and get some warm weather and get ready for some summertime? Anybody besides me? Absolutely. I can't wait for it. There are a lot of things going on as we're wrapping up things, getting ready for the summer with just seniors and with Mother's Day coming up, just a bunch of crazy stuff, but an awesome time that we love to be a part of. One of the things that's going on next week during our Mother's Day service, which is always a great service, an awesome time to be together, we're going to be having child dedications, baby and child dedications. We would love for you guys, if you have a kid that you would like, just to take that time to be able to say, you know what? I recognize this kid is a gift from God, and I want to be able to dedicate him to God, and that God will do amazing things in his life. All you have to do is head to the hub. We want you guys to sign up for that, and so that you can find out more information about that. You can always check out the hub. The other thing we want you guys to know about is we're going to be having a little barbecue competition coming up, all right? Anybody here like some good, not just barbecue, but good barbecue, all right? It's a competition. It ain't just like people showing up, cooking, then you eat it. People are actually competing. We're doing it with a bunch of different tri-state churches. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have it at South Point Park on May the 20th, and we're really, really looking forward to that. So people are already starting to trash talk a little bit. So it's going to get real. It's going to be awesome. So I bet it's going to be amazing. When you get a little competition going, people actually go all out. So I'm actually excited about that. South Point Park on May 20th. We want you guys to be a part of that. It's going to be a lot of fun because we want to get with the other churches and the other organizations of people in our area because we want to be a church that is for the tri-state, not just in the tri-state. So we're excited about that. The other thing we have coming up are summer camp. Summer camp is just a few weeks away, which is just wild to me that we're coming up on summer camp. Your kids will be able to sign up if they are 6. If they are 6, heading into 6, or graduating, they are eligible for camp. We would love to get them signed up. All you have to do is head to the hub, or you can, the link will be up on Facebook this week. Also, we're looking for people to volunteer. We need volunteers. As much as I love having teens at camp, I love volunteers even more. So we would love to have you if you'd like to be a part of that week in any way, shape, or form. You can actually go and sign up for that. We'd love for you guys to be a part of that. The biggest thing we want you to know more than anything this morning, if you have questions about anything I said or you didn't listen to a word that I just said, we want you guys to go to the hub, okay? That's where you're going to find everything out. All you got to do is take out your phone right now. You take the camera, you point it at the QR code that's on the screen, and you can find out more information about everything we're talking about. If you're new here, maybe you've never been here before, we want to say thank you. We're so glad that you guys are here this morning. All you have to do, head over to the hub, and you can actually click on the I'm New category, and you will be able to sign up for a free gift. That's just our way of saying thank you for being here. There's no strings attached. We're not going to show up at your door. We're not going to abduct you, put a bag over your head, make sure you come to every service. We just want to say thank you for being here, okay? So make sure that you sign up for that. If you need prayer, we want to do that for you. And anything else that we have going on, you will find it on the hub. So we want you guys to be a part of that. I'm excited for the rest of the time that we have together. We're going to continue worship because I'm out of breath. Is anybody, I'm tired talking. Are you guys tired listening? I'm ready to worship some more. Let's stand to our feet and let's sing to God a little bit more, okay? I'll never be more loved than I am right now. Wasn't holding you up, so there's nothing I can do to let you down. Doesn't take a trophy to make you proud. I'll never be more loved than I am right now. Oh. Going through a storm, but I won't go down. I hear your voice carried in the rhythm of the wind to call me out. You would cross an ocean so I wouldn't drown. You've never been closer than you are right now. Come on, sing this with us, everybody. You are Jireh. You are enough. Jireh. You are enough. I will be content in every circumstance. Jireh, you are enough. Forever enough, always enough, more than enough. Forever enough, always enough, more than enough. I don't want to forget how I feel right now on the mountaintop. I can see so clear what it's all about. Stay by my side when the sun goes down. Don't want to forget how I feel right now. Jireh, Jireh, you are enough. Jireh, you are enough. more than I could imagine. And that is enough. I'm already loved. I'm already chosen. I know who I am. I know what you've spoken. I'm already loved more than I could imagine. And that is enough. Jireh, you are enough. Jireh, you are enough. I will be content in every circumstance. Jireh, you are enough. Jireh, you are enough. Jireh, you are enough. I will be content in every circumstance. Jireh, you are enough. I will be content in every circumstance. Jireh, you are enough. God, you truly are enough today. Help us to know that wherever we are in our lives, whatever it is we are going through, God, we can find rest in you today. God, help us to find our focus on you right now. As we sing one more to your honor and your praise and glory, God, I pray that we'll do just that. And God, that we find ourselves at your feet, ready to worship you. We love you. We thank you. We praise you. Jesus is in this room, here right now, making this place I stand holy ground, holy ground. Jesus is in this place. Let's sing to him. Your spirit moves and breathes all around, all around. All good and perfect things flowing down, flowing down. All of the heavens are singing along with the saints and the elders, the glorious song and the praises we sing, never sing together. I'll sing forever, singing, holy, 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 Lord, God Almighty, over all. 'Cause you are, and you are, and you'll be forever the King enthroned in glorious splendor. Holy, holy Lord. Gentle, calling the doors fling wide. I see glory as I run inside your throne room. Before you, I bow. The veil is torn and the doors fling wide. I see glory as I run inside your throne room. Before you, I bow. The veil is torn and the doors fling wide. I see glory as I run inside your throne room. Before you, I bow. Holy, 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 God Almighty, God Almighty, Jesus is in this room, here right now, making this place I stand, holy ground, holy ground. Father, we love you, we thank you, we worship you now. We pray all these things in the name of Jesus Christ, and amen. You may be seated.
All right. Well, good morning. So glad you're here. Quick question, those of you watching online, glad you're part of this as well. I've got two questions, little red flag as I wave this, that I need you to participate in. If you're online, you can give a thumbs up, a hands up, praise hand, whatever you want to do. Doesn't matter. We just want you all part of this. But this proves the point, okay? How many of you, maybe talking to the guys a little bit, but gals too, but especially you guys, how many of you would be honest and say, you know what? I have been known to get angry. Some people even said maybe I had a temper or I lost my cool or you got in a fist fight in the parking lot. Anybody a little angry? Ever been known to get 4 of you? Really? All right, good. That brings me to my second one. How many of you lie all the time? Good, yeah. But angry. If someone says, hey, like my wife may be like, did you overreact there? Were you a little bit like ticked and maybe you didn't need to be that ticked? And I'm like, at first I'll argue like, no, it's worth, it deserves it. And now I'm stopping like, yeah, you're right. I probably blew up a little bit more than I needed to, right? And we can admit that. How about this one? And this is one that if you are not into church or maybe just coming in this, you know this game, but church people really know this game. What about guilt? You see, because guilt just says, oh, I should have done more. I need to do more. they're not happy with me. I'm not that good of a mom. I see all these other moms and they're so good. Or, I'm killing myself. I'm working as a dad, but I don't even know if I'm a good husband. I don't know if I'm raising these kids right. Or even religion guilt's the best. Like, God clearly is not happy with you. You've got to do more, always more, always more. The end never ends. That's the beauty of the law. It just keeps demanding more. Anyone struggle with guilt? Just like be honest today, right? And here's the thing, thank you. And if some people would ever be honest, like, if I'm honest, I kind of live a lot of guilt-driven life. Like I'm worried about if my parents are mad at me or my kids, if they're, and then that's very common. But the reason I say that is we talk about jealousy today. If I would say, how many of you are just jealous? You may raise your hand, but most of us don't like that, right? Because it makes us sound like we're 12-year-old girls. Like, at least to me, angry has a toughness to it, right? It's like, he just gets angry. That's right, because I'm a man. I will fight you, right? Or if you want to go guilt could be, I just don't feel like I match up. Jealousy is a little harder, but what I want to kind of talk about, and this is kind of like part 2 of 2 weeks ago for me, as we talked about contentment. It almost sounds exactly the same, and yet in a way it's completely opposite as well. So this idea of jealousy and envy, and what I want to go back to is what I think we're all ultimately trying to do, and that is be happy, right? Why do you want more money? Because it will make me happy. Why would you like to be able to have kids? Because it will make us fulfilled and happy. We're all searching for this magic thing that so many people have a hard time finding, yet God kind of gives us pretty clear directions on how to find it. But how do we have happiness, right? That's what kind of we're looking for. So we said 2 weeks ago, what will make you happy? And I said nothing. And what I meant by nothing is no thing. No thing will make you happy. It's always a who or a to. Give you a little Dr. Seuss. Yeah, you guys are not feeling that. I get it. It's rainy. We're wet. But that was like contentment, right? There's always this concept of more. More will make me happy. But then in the same lens, but kind of the flip side of that same coin, I would also say, so that's the greed side. I'd also say no win. No win. No beating somebody else. No being better. You're like, no, when I win, I like it. You do. And for a moment, it's almost like a little bit of happiness. But then what happens? Then you got to find your next target, right? It's also never ending. It's this constant search. So I wrote this in. You can't win at money, position, or looks and be happy. You can't. I know some of you are like, I want to try. I get it. I do too. But the bottom line is we can't win trying to beat or be better. Why? Because jealousy kills joy. And I want you to kind of hear this phrase. Jealousy is all about me. Jealousy is all about me. Okay, and as I want to give you kind of an Old Testament story real quick and kind of set up maybe the dangers of jealousy, then we're going to flip to the New Testament, which was written a few thousand years ago, and from a guy who I think gives us great kind of steps. Okay, so today, if nothing else, I can maybe at least challenge you to kind of process your thoughts and how you do, because it's all around us, right? Both my kids had prom last night. They're both seniors. Senior prom, Ironton High School. Some of you love that. My wife loves it. She loves looking at last night. I'm trying to talk to her. She's just scrolling Facebook. She loves looking at people. I love that dress. Oh, man, look how cute she looks, on and on. And here's what I would say. For most high school girls, you get all fixed up. You spend all morning, basically like your wedding, makeup, hair, right? A lot of them who can afford that, you're going to look your best, and that's great. But you know who I've learned at proms really looks good? All the girlfriends not going who have a boy going. Have you noticed that? Why? Because I don't want to look like garbage. They don't come in sweatpants. I'm like, I've never seen you wear that ever before. It's like, their hair's flowing in the wind, right? And that's this concept like, I just don't want you to be prettier than me. I don't want you to be more athletic than me. I don't want you to be smarter than me. It's just this constant pull, and we start watching other people. So just two things we're going to look at in 1 Samuel, Old Testament story. I'm going to give you this thought. Jealousy always starts with selfishness. Always. So give you a backdrop. We're talking about several thousand years ago, maybe 4,000-5,000 years ago. God's people never had a king. Never. Pretty awesome setup. He was like, I'm your king. Like, come to me. Like they've been in slavery for 4 years. They come out. God's just like, listen, we're going to be ruled by God. We don't have a government system. That's how it works. But the people, and maybe this shows us a little bit about the heart of God, which is interesting to me. They're like, we want a king. God, we want a king. God, give us a king. He's like, no, I'm your king. And then finally, it's just like, okay, fine. You want a king. Yes, people are just like, so God gave them a king. And he picked a guy by the name of Saul. He was King Saul. They say he was at least a head and shoulders taller than everybody else, which bothers me that God picks the tall guy. I know I'm out for that. But he picks this tall guy, nice looking. And Saul actually loves God. And he's actually a pretty decent king. And then what happens, as probably with all power and most power, the king gets more power, starts focusing more on himself, starts kind of neglecting God. And God starts sending these prophets, and they're like, hey, Saul, listen, God's kind of warning you. Like, this isn't yours for life. Like, you got to, keep your embark. He wants you to follow him first, then lead the people. That's the way it's set up. He doesn't, right? And what happens in that is God starts raising up this little boy named David. And if you went to VBS or Sunday school, David and Goliath. Well, David, rumors start circulating like he's this like heart after God. He's the shepherd boy, yet at the same time, people are murmuring that he might be the new king. So it all kind of comes to this head where they're in a valley, and you've got Goliath and the Philistines, and you've got all of God's people on one side. And Goliath, this monster of a man, just taunts him every day. He just walks out, will you fight me? Like, just literally like one person, one-on-one. And the rule is, if you beat him, you guys take over. But if we beat you, we're taking all your land. That's how they settled it, right? So days, everybody's in fear. David, super fast, walks in one day, bring him food, cheese. It says cheese and bread. So he delivered the first cheese pizza, right, to his brothers. As he's handing the food, he listens and he hears this guy say, your God's not real, fight me. And David can't believe it. He's just a little guy. He's like, what? Like, why are we afraid of this guy? Like, he just has like this really bold face. He's like, no. So I'll fight him. So Saul's kind of happy because it's like, hey, I need someone to fight him. And if you die, I'm not so sure you're not kind of the up and rising kid anyway. So it wouldn't be bad if I sent you out and you got killed by him, right? Well, David goes out, he kills the giant. So that's where we're going to take off. 1 Samuel 18, verse 6. It says, when the men were returning home after David had killed the Philistine, the women came out from all the towns of Israel to meet King Saul with singing and dancing, with joyful songs and with tambourines and lutes. And they danced and they sang and they said, Saul has slain his thousands. So in this moment, this is where I think for Saul, the biggest part of his downfall really starts. In that moment, they're singing, they're celebrating. God's team has won. Good news for the king. And they're even singing about him. Saul has slain his thousands. Like, oh, I love that song, right? It's awesome. That's what it starts with. Jealousy always starts with selfishness. The problem is jealousy always ends with destruction. Jealousy always ends bad. So look what happens. It says they danced and sang, Saul is slain. That's the current king, thousands. And David, his tens of thousands. Now, if you're not competitive in here, you could care less. But if you're a competitive person, you're like, how many? Right? Because we're always keeping score. I always keep score. Everything in my life is a scoreboard. And the reason I keep a scoreboard is so I can beat you in whatever scoreboard I have. Right? That's the sickness of jealousy and always trying to win and beat someone else. It says Saul was very angry. This refrain galled him. They have credited David with tens of thousands, he thought, but me only with thousands. What more can he get but the kingdom? He's coming after my job. And from that time on, Saul kept a jealous eye on David. Now, let me fast forward just a short little bit after this exact moment. You know what happened? Saul lost his family. Saul really kind of completely turns his back on God. And we get the final story where they're in a battle. It's not looking good. And they come back to him and they're like, all of your sons are dead now. They're gone. What? Your family's been destroyed. And here's the end of Saul, who started so well. Then he kept this jealous eye on David and he got consumed by him. He literally didn't care about anything. He just tried to destroy David for literally the remainder of the time. And it tells us in the story that he looked and they come back and they're like, bad news, all of your boys are dead. Saul takes his sword, literally jams it into his own heart and commits suicide. That's the end, right? How can you start so well and yet end so bad? But that's what jealousy does. I heard a guy say this so good. He said, jealousy is that we resent God's goodness in others' lives and ignore God's blessing in our own. Does it not? You see, when I get so hyper-focused on you and what's going on with you, I completely neglect all the good things around me. Because I start comparing and I want to make sure that I can win. Against who? Against you. because that's who I'm against, right? Jealousy is ultimately about me versus you. That's what jealousy says, but I'm going to argue that's not true. Last point, jealousy, I think, is actually towards God. Your jealousy. So if you don't get anything else today and you want to leave, fall asleep, understand this. When you are jealous and like, I just can't stand her. Here's what I love. You ever talk to someone who's jealous? I know, because I'm a jealous person. I do. I'm not pointing my finger at you guys. This is stuff I've got to work through all the time. But here's what I love. You know how you can tell? You hear things like this. I just don't like him. You ever heard that? And you're like, why don't you like him? He's just too nice. Oh, that's our scale now? So we don't want to be around someone because they're just too friendly. They're just always asking us how we're doing. But here's a better one. Girls, okay, you heard this? I just don't like her. Why? She's just too pretty. But she can't help it, right? I mean, literally, what do we do? We're like, no, my jealousy, I'm angry because it's me versus you. But I don't believe that's true. So here's what I did. A few years back, this was life-changing to me, so helpful. A guy in a book talked about like the heart monsters. These are the me monsters of our heart. And he said, I want you to picture this kind of like a debtor relationship. And he said, here's the problem. And some of you may struggle with all four of these. Maybe it's just one of these. But here's what you got to understand, the big issue at your heart level. And until you deal with your heart, nothing else will get fixed. But here's what he said. Guilt is, I owe you. I know I messed up. I know I shouldn't have sent that text. I know I shouldn't have done it. It goes on and on. And what guilt does is says, I owe you. So now I just have to be at your service. I have to. And some of you are like, you know what? If you make a mistake, you got to fix things. You do. I'm not saying that. But guilt is this constant feel, oh, God, I know I owe you more. You gave me everything. Oh, I just have to constantly, oh, never be enough, never enough. You're never happy with me. That's the way guilt people work. It's never enough. I owe you. I'm going to always owe you. Anger, though, says you owe me. You wronged me. You did. You haven't even apologized yet. You owe me. And until you do what I think is worthy of payment, I'm not forgiving you. Why? Because you owe me. See, that's what anger says. But then we get to 2 weeks ago, I was kind of hit. Greed says, I owe me. I work hard. I give a lot of effort. I mean, I deserve more, right? I'm working hard. I deserve more. I owe me. So I'm reading this book and he's going through these different hearts. I'm like, I get it. And then he gets to jealousy, which is probably the biggest one for me personally. I'm like, okay. And he's like, you're saying God owes you. And I was like, no. I know I've been jealous of stuff. I'm jealous when people are better than me or they beat me or they get the job or in school they're way smarter. They never study. Their grades are always better. Like, I get it. I'm mad at them. And he's like, no, you're not. You're actually mad at God. No, I'm not. I never even talked to God about it. It's just that person who kills me. And then I started thinking about this. Jealousy actually is pretty dangerous because what we're really saying is God owed me more. Now, I want to prove that, okay? Because I know some of you, if you're like me for 2 years, I was like, I still don't think that one adds up. So I'm going to give you just a quick illustration today, okay? I'm going to have Brandon. I know you got a baby. Will you come up here, please, Brandon? Give me Eric. Tim, will you come up here? These three. Give them a hand, will you? Eric, Brandon, Tim. On your way up. Here's what I'm going to do today. I'm a man of generous. I didn't steal this from the church. This is my money. I'm going to give everyone at least a 5. Okay, so this is worth coming up here, right? Sound pretty good? Worth a 5? Many of you don't know, Brandon, you guys just recently had a baby. Give him a hand for that, right? So I think because of that, because I like Brandon, I'm going to do something really well for him. I'm going to give him 5 5s, my own money. Some of you are like, I don't know if I agree with this church, but they give money. I like that. Brother, come back next week and give me some money, right? I like it. I don't know why we all talk so redneck, but we do, right? Lawrence County. I don't like that church, give money. I don't even know what he said. I don't care. But anyways, diapers aren't cheap, right? So you know what? There's 5 5s. You keep that. Did you deserve it? No, you've done nothing for me lately, right? But yeah, you deserve it. Tim helps with our youth. Awesome guy. Love Tim. Tim, I'm sorry you don't have a little baby, but I'm going to give you 5. I said I'll give everybody at least 5. I'm going to give you 5 1s. I get Starbucks maybe. And I got Eric left, right? So let me see. Eric actually comes on like Tuesdays, helps us out, a lot of communication, does such amazing stuff, helps with the teens, him and his wife, amazing. They actually went Trader Joe's yesterday and bought my daughter food and put it in a cooler for her because they know she loves Trader Joe's. Is that awesome? So Eric, he deserves a lot. I'm not going to leave him empty-handed. I'm going to give you 5. All right, there you go. Now, here's the deal. You guys don't, it's awkward. You don't want to be up here. You can just have a seat, okay? Some of you are like, are you really not going to give me anything? No, I'm not. I'm really not. You're empty-handed, Eric. Sorry. Is that not the worst day? Right? Now, here's the point of all that. Whether we like that or not, some of you, my wife right now, who loves fairness, is so upset with this illustration. That's why I didn't tell her I was doing it. Because here's what she's saying. That's not fair, Trent. You actually made one person feel stupid and bad because they just stood up here and had to high five me, right? That's a bad deal. I mean, for Brandon, it's pretty good. But even I bet if you talk to Tim, he's like, I mean, yeah, it was $5 I didn't have, but it's not 25. But here's the thing. What if I talk here for the next 2 minutes and you guys just hear a roar going and those three start fist fighting? And they're trying to take money and Eric's like, I'd do more for him than any of you. So he's trying to take it. What will we ultimately say? Honestly, all of us here would be like, you shouldn't be mad at each other. Neither of you three did this. I did it. Who should they be? If they feel like their lot wasn't fair or they didn't feel like they got what they deserved, who are they really mad at? They're not mad at each other. They may fight with each other. They're mad at me. I'm the one who chose to do that. You see, as I'm looking at that person, I'm like, I just don't get why they always keep getting bumped up and they keep getting the job and they don't work half as hard as I do. And I just don't like them. That's not really my issue, though. I think it is. My issue is, God, how come you give them so much? God, how come they're so talented? God, how come she's, let's just be honest, how come she is such a smoke show? Literally, she walks in the room and everybody wants to talk to her. They want to hug her. They love her. No one hugs me, right? So I don't like her. No. I'm mad at God because you gave them something and I don't think you gave me enough. So my issue really isn't this me monster of jealousy. Is me saying, God, I think you owe me. I'm just being honest. Why are their kids healthy? Why did she get that award? Why is she the Appalachian math teacher of the year? I deserve that. Right? I work hard. Like you can go down the line. I don't get it. So we're mad at people, but that's not how it works. It's not. These me monsters will always continuously grow. So I'm ultimately saying, I either owe you, so sorry, oh, I'm just a worm, I'm worthless, I'm so sorry. Or you tick me off, you cross the line, you know what you did, you owe me. Or we want to get greedy, we're like, I owe me. Why not? But this final one is me. If I'm honest and really think about it, I'm saying, God, you owe me. I think you owe me. Let's just call it what it is. It's not them. It's not her. It's not him. It's you. I think you owe me. So fast forward a couple thousand years, about 2,000 years ago, this guy by the name of Paul, ironically, his name used to be Saul too, for this point, becomes a Christian, changed his name. He writes a lot of the New Testament. So these are all letters to different cities that had churches. So this in Galatians is to a church, and I hate just picking one section. That's not very wise to do in Bible times. You can prove a lot of points you want to make by picking and choosing a verse or two. But I think this sets on its own. It's pretty good. Galatians 5. So the church in Galatia, Paul's writing to them, and he's basically just kind of talking to them about how you're not under the law. This new grace thing is more unbelievable, like God's empowering you to live the way you were designed to live. Such a great chapter. But he says this. He says, I want to give you two examples. I want to give you with these me monsters an example of someone who lives a life all about themselves. He said, I want you to hear. I want you just to hear the results. Because in your brain, you're going to think this is the way. If you're unhappy, think about all of you in here. Some of you are really unhappy right now. What do? If you're unhappy, you're like, well, I need to fix some things. I probably need to get more, have a better circumstance, better situation. Something has to improve because that's truly my happiness. It's got to be focused more on me. I get unhappy, I focus more and more on me, so which leads me to be more unhappy. So Paul gives this example. This is so good. He says, when you follow your own wrong inclinations, these aren't right. They're going to feel so right, yet they're wrong. He says, your lives will produce these evil results. So if you want to live for you, the rest of your life, I'm telling you, this is what's going to happen. He said it'll be impure thoughts, eagerness for lustful pleasure. You will use people sexually, relationally. Why? To get what you want, because it's all about you. So whatever pleasures you doesn't matter to them. And the whole time you're like, that's making me happy for a little bit. Then it gets really void again. Idolatry. That's where we're like, God, I'm going to be really good to you. Why? So you'll give me what I want, right? God, please, please, please answer my prayer. I'll do whatever you want, at least for a little bit, so you can give me. So you're really not God. You're a vending machine. That's idolatry. Then he goes on to say, spiritism, that's encouraging activity of demons, hatred, fighting, jealousy, anger, constant effort to get the best for yourself, complaints, and criticisms. Now you can tell someone who's pretty self-centered, they critique anything around them that they don't like or they don't love that's maybe better or more than them. He said the feeling, this is good, you ever been on Facebook? The feeling that everyone else is wrong except those in your own little group. How about that? This is all, no, we're right. You don't understand. You see, at C3, we believe the right way. Oh, you other churches, you're idiots. You don't know what you're doing. See what I'm saying? It's about me. It's about us. We're right. You're wrong. Then he goes on. He says, envy, murder, drunkenness, wild parties, and all that sort of thing. So here's what he's saying. If you live like people owe you, or you owe yourself, or God owes you, you will not be happy. You will end with a bunch of things you don't want ultimately said about your life. How do I know that? I've done so many funerals in my life. I performed so many. And I can tell you, not all, but there's been like a handful of them where I've walked in and I do the same thing. Like some of them will be friends of mine. I didn't know the person who was deceased. So I'm like, hey, tell me about them. You know, I'd like to share some things you would like me to share about them. I remember one, I was talking to the family. So it's like wife. It was a man who passed away. It was a wife and like the 3 kids. And you know what they said? What do you want us to say? I said, just tell me like maybe a few funny things or some good memories you have. I promise you, 3 of them looked and said, I don't know what you want us to say. Now think about that. In your whole life, the summary of your life. Why? Because if I live for me, all my results are not going to be the things I want shared at my funeral. And neither do you. I can promise you that. That's how it works. Now, luckily, I'm smarter than the average bear. I learned how to trick a lot of funerals too. I remember one time I stepped and I said, this guy was so generous. Literally, everyone in the front row of the family looked up. What? What I was saying was he tried to sleep with most women in that area, right? He was very generous. I remember once I was like, this guy is ambitious. They're like, he's been stealing from the company. I know, it shows some initiative, right? I mean, you got to work with something. I mean, I can't just dog this human. But what's sad is you actually can't find. The family couldn't say, well, you know, one time, this time, 5 years ago, nothing. But that's what Paul's saying. He's saying, hey, if you live like you owe me, and I owe me, and God owes me, these are the results. And he says, but there's a new way to live. And Jesus walks on earth and shows us this way where literally God, who dwells in us, who walks, literally lives in us, walks with us. It says, but when the Holy Spirit controls our lives, he will produce this kind of fruit in us. Now, let me just ask you, as I read this list, I want you to think, at the end of the day, guy or girl, macho, feminine, tough, soft, whatever your personality is, let me ask you if you wouldn't like this to be said about you and your family when it's all said and done. Here's what he says they are: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness. He's saying, hey, you want a life that's lived for others? You want a life where you're not the center of everything, where you actually think of others first? He's like, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. That's the results of this. So I can either literally say a life of me or a life of others. And what he's teaching us is so neat here. He's saying the more you empty yourself, the more full. And this is so counterintuitive to all of us in this room. I promise it's counterintuitive to me. The more you empty yourself, the more full you will be. You know how I know this is true? Because I know people who don't make half of what I make. I know for a fact they don't. And sometimes I listen to them talk and I'm like, I mean, don't trust me. I would not trade you jobs because you're working way hard for way less. I kind of wish I had what you had. You know as well as I do, you met people who aren't nearly as attractive as you are. But you're like, why do they have peace? Why do they seem so comfortable in their own skin? Like, yeah, okay. You know, I'm trying to get healthy. Obviously we all want to be healthy and not just shorten our lives by being terrible decisions, but it's like, I'm good. I don't have to impress people every day, right? We all know those people. We're like, oh, I'm not going to trade them. But I kind of wish I had what they have because they have those. You ever met the family And it's like they both family just work hard. They literally might live in wherever, like way lower than what many of us would consider high society. And it's like, but they've got something. They've got joy, peace. Why? They found happiness because it's focused on others. So as we close, I want to give you just a word picture to see. Okay, this is I want to compare this is kind of the times Jesus lived, still there today. But there's the Sea of Galilee and the Dead Sea. Now, I've used this illustration similar. I know some of you are mocking me. You're like, dude, can you not find better illustrations? You're just copying your stuff. A few years back, I used this, and I said, the thing is, the Amazon River, I compared versus the Dead Sea, and I said, one's full of life and the other's dead, right? But I found something new, and this is what's interesting. If you go to the Sea of Galilee, and I promise this is it, and we'll get out of here. But the Sea of Galilee is fed by the upper Jordan River. So there's this big river, and it feeds, okay, it's here, and it feeds into the Sea of Galilee, right? This body of water. And then there's the lower Jordan River, and water leaves that, and it flows. So it's got inflow, outflow, okay? Maybe the secret of life. But if you look up a picture when you leave, if you look up a picture, go home and just search like modern day Sea of Galilee. It looks amazing. There's people wakeboarding. There's girls in boats and bikinis. Like literally, like it's like a beach destination. It looks so much fun. Beautiful area, beautiful scenery, a lot of water, super fun. First service, I said, you know what? It reminds me of Myrtle Beach. And then when I walked out, T-Wag back there said, you want to know how sad I feel for you? When you thought of the most glamorous vacation spot your mind went to. Guys, it's like Myrtle Beach. Right, so maybe you guys all know better beaches. It's like I don't know. It's like okay, Myrtle Beach. I don't know of any others. That's where we're going to go, right? But it's this beautiful, like almost tropical destination. It's awesome. Water in, water out. From the lower Jordan River, it then flows into the Dead Sea. And here's the whole point: the Dead Sea, if you look, there's not people having a good time. There's no life. It's not inhabited by anything. But this is what I just read this week. It was so interesting. The Dead Sea is actually shrinking. It's shrinking. They're pumping like millions of gallons in this thing because they're like, look, just so many years ago, the water was here. Now it's here. It's shrinking. So as we close, I want to ask you something. How can something that has water coming into it every single day, a ton of water, no water leaves, and yet it's shrinking? Seems impossible, doesn't it? Is it possible, though, that God says, hey, we got a choice to make, too, as we walk out of these doors today? And we need people speaking to us. We need encouragement. We need people to love us. Absolutely. I'm all for that. I'm not telling you if you're in an abusive home or something. No. Just ignore it. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying if your general focus is all about me and you're like, I'm just not happy, I think God would say, you're not going to be. How is it that literally a body of water that has no outflow and nothing but pouring in is not overflowing, but it's shrinking? And you know why? So get ready to pray because I want you to hear this. It's this simple. If I always try to bring in and never give out, never serve others, never celebrate others, never look to the interest of others, which is the way God designed all of us in this room, I'm going to be real ticked in life that I'm not happy, never realizing the whole time it's because I was chasing something that's never going to make me happy. If you always take in and never want to outflow anything out, I'll promise you this, you will shrink. I promise you this, you will be smaller at the end of your life than you were intended to be. Why? Because we learn, it's all these New Testament one another's. Love one another, pray for one another, encourage one another, build one another up. And you know why? Because God's like, listen, that's the way I've designed you. Even if you don't think that's how it works, that's the way you've been designed from the beginning of time. You were designed by the giver of life to give away your life. Now, I'm going to pray, but I want to say that one more time because I really need you to hear this. Some of you are like, and maybe you don't follow Jesus and you're like, this is all a charade and it's just a way to get people's money and good job, Trent. Now you're trying to get people to serve more. I'm not. Serve somewhere else. I mean that. I got a message just this week from McDonald's, the Ronald McDonald House, and the lady said, we need tons of volunteers. Go there. It doesn't have to benefit me. I'm just telling you, someone who consistently pours out has peace, joy, happiness. Why? Because you were designed by the giver of life to give your life away. When I empty myself, I actually become full. I don't know how that makes sense. I don't know why the Dead Sea is shrinking. I don't know either one. But I just know it's how God designed it to be. So here's what I want to do. We're going to pray. You would just close your eyes. Those of you online, you don't have to close your eyes because you're in your couch or whatever you're doing. But here's what I want you to hear today. Okay, as we get ready to close out, I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you to think through your life. And some of you here talk to a guy after the first service. He's like, I'm not jealous. You may not be. Great. Maybe it's guilt. Maybe it's anger. Maybe it's greed. But what's in your heart that you were never designed to live? What's literally corrupting your heart where you're constantly watching? Why do their kids have that? Why do their kids not have to go through what my kids go through? Why does he always get that? Why did she get that raise? Possibilities are endless, but the problem's still the same. It's when I get out of my lane, as we said 2 weeks ago, I start chasing the wind and chasing other people, and I realize I'm never going to be happy until I have a life. Love others, serve others, celebrate others. So God, as we come before you this morning, we thank you. We thank you for this amazing counterintuitive design where we were designed to literally give away our lives. We were designed to focus on others. I pray you'd help all of us in this room, including myself, to realize, as counterintuitive, as weird as that sounds, because everything in the world screams it's a different story. But everything else in the world is pretty unhappy as well. So help us to realize maybe you do have the secret to this happiness. And it's a life well spent for others. So I pray today, God, as we walk out of these doors, we would be known, if nothing else, not as the best church, not as the right church, not as the cool, uncool, hip, whatever words. None of that. But I pray that those of us who would say we're your followers would be known this week as the ones who love the most, forgive the most, look out the most, celebrate other people's success the most. Literally a life spent well for others. Thank you that you give us your son as the ultimate example, the one who said, I will literally pour out my life in showing my love for everyone in this room, everyone listening online. So today we celebrate that. You not only show us the way, your son came and lived the way. So help us as we get ready to close today, to walk out these doors and realize when it's all said and done, I want joy, peace, gentleness, self-control, faithfulness. God, these are the things all of us are craving because that's what happiness ultimately leads to. Help us to believe that. Help us to act on it and not believe the lies of the enemy. And I pray today, maybe some people in their house, their living room, sitting on their couch, laying in their bed, or people in this room right now, some people who have tried to do it their way. They've tried to figure this out, and it's not working. And today you're speaking to their heart and you're telling them, because it only can come through you. You're the one who gives us new life and a new heart. And today as you're speaking to them, here's your big step. Jesus, I know I've made a mess of things. I know I've sinned. But I'm asking you this morning to save me. That's your prayer. Jesus, save me. And the Bible says, whoever calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. It says, before we open our eyes, before we walk out of these doors today, I want to ask you, if that's you, if you're online, go to the hub, contact us. If you're here, there's next steps, C3 Church/the hub. We want to know if you're here for the first time. We want to know if you need prayer. We want to know if you've taken the next step. But here's the big one. That's you this morning, so we can celebrate. You don't need to stand up. You don't need to come forward. But that amazing step, we want to celebrate because God's celebrating. If you cross that line today, if you would just lift your hand and say, Trent, for the first time in my life, I asked Jesus to save me. Trent, I asked Jesus to save me and give me new life, a real life. That you would just lift your hand, just hold it for just a second. We just want to acknowledge and celebrate that. Awesome. Awesome. God's so thankful for all the things you continue to do, seeing life change here every single week, people taking next steps. We thank you. You're awesome. It's all for you and because of you. We ask these things in your son's name, and amen. All right, guys, have a great week.